Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for August 7th. Please can we get a roll call first? Ms. Brown?
Commissioner Grabowski,
Present.
Commissioner Woodard,
Present.
Commissioner Bowditch,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Shook,
Present.
Commissioner Dias,
Present.
Commissioner Michaud,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Chairperson Taylor, we have a quorum.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Brown. We'll now have the Planning Commission's creed and approval of the agenda by Commissioner Woodard.
Planning Commission Creed. The Newport News Planning Commission is mandated by state law and its members are appointed by City Council. Section 15 to 2210 of the Code of Virginia states in part that every locality should create a planning commission in order to promote the orderly development of the locality and its environment. Statutory purpose is to improve the public health, safety, convenience, and welfare of its citizens and to plan the future development of communities. In serving in this statutory purpose, the Commission invites the comments at the public hearing of its interested citizens of matters before it and welcomes your presence. Chairperson Taylor, I move that we adopt the agenda before us.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded that the agenda be approved. Thank you. We'll now have the invocation by our very own Fred, our pastor.
Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to serve the city that we love. We also lift up in prayer people that are in the path of the hurricane for their protection and safety. And we just continue to ask for your guidance and wisdom in the decisions that we make today. In your name, amen.
Amen. We now have the Pledge of Allegiance. With the absence of the flag, we are focused forward. And Tim Slabowski, Commissioner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all so very much. Next item on the agenda is the minutes. Does anyone have any comments, corrections? Yes, sir. Mr. Kowalski.
Mr. Chair, under my comment on CU-2024-0003, when I asked Green Auto if they were clean, I'd just like it added in that the attorney stated that he was not sure if they were green. And this doesn't mark that. He just said that they try to be environmentally conscious, but he wasn't sure if they identify as a green company. It's
Help us find this, Tim.
page
3, about the third way down.
Okay, Tim, if you don't mind, if you mark yours up?
Yeah.
And then we'll get that to Mrs. Brown.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions or comments or corrections?
So, Tim, you're not satisfied with the answer? He stated the company is an environmentally conscious company?
He said more.
He did state that, but to my direct question as to whether they identified as a green company, he said he was not sure.
Okay.
And I'd just like that. So what's there is fine. I just like added in that he indicated he didn't know. I don't know if that requires a motion.
Well, it's amendment to the minutes, so it does
So
require a motion.
all right, so I move that we amend the minutes to reflect that the attorney did not indicate that he knew if the company was green or not.
Okay. Second. Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments? All right.
I just think before that is amended, that whatever transcript we have, just to make sure what he said verbatim didn't include that language. Didn't include that language before you adopt this.
Well, two things are right. We have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded. We need to carry that and make note that we want to make sure that the log of the last minutes, the last meeting, is checked for accuracy.
And again, I'm only saying that because you don't want a company to come back at us and say, well, I did say X or
Right.
whatever.
So what we'll do is, the motion, we'll vote on that motion, and then we'll come back with a suggestion that we vet or review the minutes and the recorded minutes for verification before we make any changes. We
Is
good?
that fair, Tim?
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever language we put in as long as that's.
Okay, so we have a motion before the floor, and the motion is that we accept the minutes with the suggested corrections by Mrs. Grabowski. And so it's before it's for the commission. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Woodard,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
For.
Commissioner Williams,
Against.
Commissioner Shook,
Or,
Commissioner Dias, Commissioner Michaud,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
Or,
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion carries 7-1.
Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to go on record to make the note that we verify what was recorded from the last meeting for verification prior to that change being made. I would also like, if it's a correction that needs to be made to that, we get back to us as a commission, one way or the other. Good?
Yes.
Commission?
fine, yeah.
Thank you so very much. Thanks, Tim. Okay, we now open the public hearing. And the first item before us today is a conditional use permit, CU. Point of order, real quick. The motion that came before us was a correction and enhancement to the existing minutes. With that correction and enhancement, my thoughts was that we would approve the minutes as corrected.
So all of the minutes.
The complete minutes, not just that part.
Not just that part.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I mentioned that if there was a change made to the minutes after she did a verification of documentation and the recording, she would get back to us as a commission to what that was, if it was made.
Yes, sir.
We good? Good? Great. Sorry for the confusion. So the first item before us on conditional use permit, CU tag 2024, tag 0005. Bell King Road LLC and Madison Company, Newport News owners, and FRHP Lincolnshire LLC applicant will be presented to us by Saul Garcia.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So we have application CU 2024-0005. It is by Bell King Road LLC and Madison Company of Newport News, who are the owners, and FRHP Lincolnshire LLC, who is the applicant. They are Camping World. They are requesting a conditional use permit for the construction and operation of a large motor vehicle sales, repair, and service center. The properties are located at 363 Bell King Road and 341 Ed Wright Lane and contain 10.79 acres. North of the property are a wholesale distribution facility, Keller America, and a vacant parcel on property zone M1 Light Industrial, and the Impressions Apartments on property zone R7 Medium Density Multiple Family Dwelling. East, we have a warehouse office building on property zone M1 Light Industrial. South, we have E.W. Mueller Contractor on property zone M1 Light Industrial. And west of the property are the CSX Railroad right-of-way and Peninsula Memorial Park on property zone R3 single family. The adopted One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map identifies industrial uses for the parcels. Industrial uses are intended for areas devoted to manufacturing, storage, and distribution business operations, assembly, and processing. The proposed inventory of large motor vehicles, as well as the service and bodywork operation proposed for the property, are in keeping with that designation. The properties have been zoned M1 light industrial since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective on August 1st, 1997. Oops. There's a mistake there. It's M1, not commercial. The zoning ordinance permits the use of in M1 light industrial zoning district with a conditional use permit. The ordinance requires a 40-foot transitional buffer area between industrial and single-family districts and a 30-foot transitional buffer area between industrial and multiple family districts. This occurs along portions of the western property line and the property's Bell King Road frontage, respectively. The zoning ordinance also sets a special building setback of 140 feet along the CSX right-of-way corridor. The site and landscape plans show the appropriate transitional buffer areas and the special building setback required. The ordinance requires one parking space per 500 square feet of floor area. A 13,075 square foot service building is proposed, which will require a minimum of 27 parking spaces. The site plan shows 38 spaces for customers with an additional 240 spaces for RV parking within a fenced area. The site regulations require that a landscape strip be located along all street frontages and that it be no less than 10 feet. The landscape plans show the appropriate landscape strips. Departments commenting on this application had no major comments. The requested conditional use permit is to allow for the current operation of the Camping World dealership on Jefferson to expand to this property. The recreational vehicle dealership and service center has operated at the corner of Jefferson and Mueller Lane since 1967. However, the site is relatively constrained at that location, facing the need for additional space that would allow them to continue to grow and provide the services that their clients expect. The property owners look for properties within proximity of the dealership that would allow customers easy access. The properties in question meet that criterion. Moving the service component of the operation as well as allowing for much needed inventory space to these properties will help reduce the congestion at the existing dealership location. It will also remove the noisiest part of the operation away from the residential property adjacent to the current location. The proposed service building will be a utilitarian metal building of a design similar to other warehouse buildings in the vicinity. The proposed location of the building is not near any residential property and is surrounded by other manufacturing, warehouse, and industrial office buildings. In response to the requirements of the CSX corridor special building setback and transitional buffer areas, the proposed plan calls for the retention of the existing woods and additional landscape fronting the street along the northern and western property lines. State stormwater management requirements will need to be met on the site without intrusion into the CSX building setback. In conclusion, the proposed large motor vehicle sales, service, and repair facility is consistent with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use designation. The relocation of the service component of the operation from the current location to the industrially zoned properties with other manufacturing and warehouse facilities will remove a source of nuisance away from an abutting residential community. Hence, it is recommended that Planning Commission recommend to City Council approval of conditional use permit CU 2024-0005 for the construction and operation of a large motor vehicle sales, repair, and service facility at 363 Belking Road and 341 Ed Wright Lane with 23 conditions that include a Class 1 site plan shall be submitted to and reviewed by the Site Plan Review Committee and approved by the Director of Planning. Property owner shall file a boundary line adjustment plat with the Department of Planning to vacate all interior lot lines and adjust the property lines to create a single new parcel. A landscape plan, which is in conformance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, site regulations, as well as this permit, shall be submitted to and approved by the Director of Planning. The applicant shall submit to the Department of Planning building elevations and exterior building materials to be reviewed and approved by the Director of Planning prior to the issuance of a building permit. The required 140 special building setback along CSX right-of-way corridor and the transitional buffer areas located along the western and northern property lines shall be maintained and shall remain wooded and be supplementally planted as necessary. The landscape strip along all street frontages, as identified on the landscape plan, shall be planted and maintained in a healthy condition in perpetuity. A 6-foot-high fence shall be installed around the perimeter of the property. The design of the fence shall be reviewed and approved by the Director of Planning prior to the issuance of a fence permit. All other standard conditions also apply. All 23 conditions are detailed in the staff report and will be part of the ordinance approved by Council. Are there any questions?
I did have one quick one. Rep, you spoke in regards to the parking spaces early on in your presentation. So these are RVs. So what is the size requirement for these parking spaces? Because I went out and I thought it was going to just be a repair facility for these units, but now I'm hearing, and I went to ask the question yesterday, was are they all going to be sales there also? So then what's their limit on parking, and what type of parking spaces are they gonna build? Because they're not gonna be the width of a car, like they're depicted
No,
on
they
this.
are going to be large parking spaces for the RVs. This is the area behind the building. When we are talking about the 32, I think, parking spaces that they are providing are in front of the service building, and those are for customers and employees.
Okay, so the ones that we're, as far as the required spots, are the ones in front of the building, which are, let me just play compass on it. I'm gonna go west, let's say east of the train tracks. So the front part of the building is where we're talking about the parking spaces.
Correct.
And the ones in the rear
Are
and
for
around the
storage.
building is for storage, so they could be of any size.
They will be of the size required
For
for
the
the
RVs.
largest RVs.
Roger that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. It's open, thank you very much, so, it's open for the commission. I have one card that the gentleman, Mr. Grant? Mr.
I had some questions.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Could we do that first?
Yes, you can do your questions.
So there's going to be sales and service at the location, is that right?
There will be no sales.
Well, that was my question. I just stated that, because I thought in your presentation you said it's gonna be a sales and repair facility. Did I hear that
Well,
wrong?
it's part of the sales operation, but they will just have
Yeah, it's,
the storage.
yeah, it says it's just for storage and maintenance.
That's what I thought initially, but when he mentioned, but Mr. Grant's gonna talk to us about that in
So,
just a second.
some follow-up question.
Yes,
So is the reason why condition 11, 13, are those because you're trying to limit that it can only be for service? Are we saying to them, you can't have signs and window advertising on vehicles on display? Is that in an effort to ensure that there's no sales there? Am I reading that correctly? Because my concern is, I feel like it's not our role to dictate
Dictate.
to them how they market things if we're giving them permission to sell. But if we're saying no selling shall occur at this location, then I understand why we would put restrictions like that to hold them accountable.
We
Correct.
always restrict the use of sales and other signs other than a monument sign or a building sign. They are not proposing to have a monument sign, and that's why we're limiting the signs to a building sign.
So, I guess to hit on that question, in your review of your team, the distinction between sales and repair, there's not really been a significant distinction within your team. It's a new site with the focus on repair because their sales footprint is on Jefferson Avenue.
Correct.
But that doesn't preclude them from having potential customers look at the inventory that will be on the back lot.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for clarification for me, this lot is being, this project is being identified as a maintenance facility, an overflow lot, or a maintenance facility, overflow, and sales lot.
That's my confusion as well.
The use
For-
matrix in our zoning ordinance is all combined.
Okay,
So therefore, that's the use. It's for sales, service, the conditional use permit is for sales, service, and, what's the other? word?
repair.
And repair. So that's how the use matrix creates this use.
Okay. Thank you for clarification. Thank you.
And that's what the conditional use permit is going to say,
Okay.
the ordinance approving this.
Correct.
So then I'm just going to go, for my own
ahead, sir.
edification, does that mean that any type of vehicular sales entity in the city of Newport News is not allowed to have balloons on vehicles double parked in sales spaces? I just, like, this is really specific.
Yes.
So
Correct.
is it our role to dictate to them how they can market the sale of a vehicle on a lot that's zoned for sales? Or should all of that be taken out and just let them do their business?
That is a standard condition for any dealership.
Correct. Now, the monitoring of such standard is the question.
Your assertions
Dancing guy.
of balloons and streamers is somewhat becoming part of the past.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So any others? Because we do have one card, and Mr. Grant is here to talk to us about. Mr. Grant, now that you're here, please forgive us. We're in a different location now, so the podium is what you're standing in front of. But we do need you to identify yourself, tell us where you live, and give your address and your purpose and what role you play in this project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee, for having me today. So Grant Ducach, Excel Engineering, representing the applicant for this project, address 100 Camelot Drive in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. And just want to open it up for any dialogue, any questions. There's been some good discussion here today. Saul, thank you for your presentation. It was very good, spot on. So I'm really here just to answer questions, to support it. And I know there's been some conversation about the sales and service aspect of it. Hopefully I can clean that up. Obviously the conditional use permit is specific, how it's written from a legal perspective. From an operations standpoint, this is a service and collision facility.
Mm-hmm.
There will be overflow, new inventory parked here. There is not an intent to actually bring in customers to look at units and to do any active sales out of this facility. So it's mostly just parking of new units that would then support the Camping World dealership that's a block away. Is it possible somebody may look at a camper on the site? It's possible. But there's, from an operations standpoint, there's no front entry, there's no retail support to the building. So there's really not an area for customers to come into the building. There's not any sales towers, no retail. There's just, it's really all sales. And also from an operations standpoint there's really not a focus on this site and development to be bringing in even over-the-counter customers for service. They would go to the main Camping World facility, schedule their service. They might drop off the unit here, but that would be it. They'd drop it off and move on. Otherwise, Camping World would have porters actually move inventory over to actually be serviced at this facility. So that is the proposed operations.
Thank you.
So again, just for a point of clarification, you're not trying to create a new car lot and a used car lot, new being Jefferson, used being this side. This is more just a storage area.
Correct.
Please, let's get this correct. We're not talking cars. These guys
Oh,
are
they're campers.
these are much bigger than cars. These are RVs.
Did I say car?
Yes, you did, sir.
Oh,
We have
okay,
enough.
man,
Jefferson
campers.
is full of cars. This is
Campers,
an
I'm
RV.
sorry.
And there was some question about the size of the parking stalls.
Yes, sir.
They're 12 by 35
That's what I thought.
is each stall.
So is the thought that we would use from, and I'm going to say from Bell King Road all the way to the back of the facility as potential parking area for your vehicles?
For the RV units?
Yes.
Correct, yes, and that will all be within a secure fence
Okay.
as well.
Any other questions from the commission? For Mr. Grant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, the matter is now before the commission.
Chair, I move that conditional use permit number CU Tech 2024 Tech 0005 be approved with conditions as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Do I have any questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Shook,
Four.
Commissioner Dias,
Against.
Commissioner Michelle,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
Against.
Commissioner Woodard.
4.
Motion carries 6-2.
Correction.
Oh, I'm
Got
so
me again.
sorry.
I'm easily forgotten. That's okay. The
I
gavel's just hanging here by
apologize.
itself.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion carries 6-2.
You're gonna claim my vote before I even make it. Thank you so very much, Ms. Brown, and thank you all commissioners, and thank you those that came on behalf of this conditional use permit. This will be heard by City Council on September the 10th, 2024. Okay, next item on the agenda, zoning text amendments, ZT TAC 624, tag 0002, City of Newport News. This will be presented to us by Ms. Hall.
Good afternoon,
Good
Commissioners, Chair, Vice Chair, and staff. You have before you today zoning text amendment 2024-0002. The request seeks to amend Article 2 definition, Section 45-201, definition of certain words and terms, as well as Article 5 general regulations, Section 45-518.1. These amendments are seeking to add a new use to the zoning ordinance for accessory dwelling units and to provide regulations on how the use will operate. Accessory dwelling units are small, independent dwellings with their own living, bathroom, and kitchen space. The zoning ordinance presently prohibits the addition of second dwelling units on properties developed as single-family. The proposed definitions would allow a second dwelling unit on a single-family lot that functions independently from the primary residence on the property. The second dwelling unit may be attached to the primary structure or detached as a separate building on the same property. Allowing this type of development on single-family property provides homeowners the ability to meet the evolving needs of families and households, can help provide an adequate supply of housing, as well as help older persons age in place and provide for a wider diversity of housing within sought-after neighborhoods where cost of burdens cannot be overcome. The proposed general regulations seek to allow accessory dwelling units while ensuring the neighborhood character will be maintained. The addition of the dwelling unit will be done in a manner that is clearly subordinate to the principal structure. Also, the design and location of the proposed unit would be in keeping with other accessory structures within the neighborhoods, allowing for open space to be considered. Finally, the regulations seek to ensure that the additional dwelling unit would be used to further the city's desire for additional housing. On April 17th of 2024, the Regulations Committee reviewed and recommended approval of the above referenced amendment. It is staff's recommendation that the City Planning Commission recommends to City Council adoption of zoning ordinance text amendment ZT 2024-0002. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Can
Go ahead,
I'd like
Tim.
to say-
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, thank you. I may require staff's input. Where did it land with the Airbnb thing? You remember a couple, like a year or two ago? Did city council approve that? Okay, so my question is, how does this interact, seeing as the family would be living on the property full-time? Couldn't they rent this unit out as an Airbnb?
No, the regulation specifically prohibits that from happening. In addition, the whole purpose of adding an accessory dwelling unit is to add housing stock to our area. So if you're trying to add housing stock and then you use it as a short-term rental, you're not really adding housing stock, you're just using it for transitional housing. And that's why it's stated that way.
Okay, I mean, I'm all for this. I was just curious as to how that
Laid out.
played out
Yes,
exactly.
it is. It's for permanent use and not for vacation use.
And just as a follow-up, is there any city enforcement of any of that? I know last time I knew of this.
That is the purpose of general regulations. We have criteria established regulating lot size, use, the property owner.
No, I mean, who is enforcing that these properties are not being?
Zoning.
They're, okay,
Yes.
but how are they? Okay,
They
I'll
have
follow
to.
up, I'll follow up after, just to get the specifics. I
Okay.
apologize. I got this packet very late and did not get to
Okay,
get all my questions
that's fine.
asked,
We can
so-
talk offline.
And just so you know, in subsections 12 and 13 of the general regulations, those are the subsections that specifically prohibit the.
Oh, there it is, right in
accessory-
front of me.
Yeah, dwelling units to
Okay,
be
thank
used
you.
as.
Again,
short-term
I
rentals.
got this late last night, so I didn't.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to share with you where you would find that.
Thank you very much.
Literally right in front of me.
Thank you, Lynn.
No problem.
Thank you, Tim. Ms.
My same question, except it's just for long-term rentals, not life
Yes.
insurance.
That is correct.
Okay. Any other question? Hearing none, we have no cards on this topic, so the matter is now before the commission.
Chair, I move that we recommend City Council adoption of zoning text amendment number ZT, Tech 2024, Tech 0002.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Call roll.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Dias,
4.
Commissioner Michaud,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
4.
Commissioner Woodard,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
This will be heard by City Council on September 10th, 2024. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Hall. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not sitting down today.
So you just got zoning text amendment 3.
It is great to see Ms. Hall, so I'm going to ask her to stand up, please. The next item on the agenda is zoning text amendment ZT text 2024 text 003, also to be presented by Ms. Hall.
The next request that you have is zoning tax 2024-0003. This request is to amend Article 4, Summary of Uses by District, Section 45-402B, Residential. It seeks to add accessory dwelling units and permit the use within all zoning districts where single-family dwellings are permitted. Currently, as noted, the use is not permissible on properties developed with single-family dwellings. The amendment would allow the development of these dwelling units on properties within the zoning districts that allow single-family development. They function independently from the primary residential structures on the property and can both be attached and detached. It is the goal of this text amendment to add the use to the R1, R2, R3, and R4 single-family dwelling districts, in addition to the R5 low-density multifamily dwelling and the O1 office zoning districts. On April 17, 2024, the Regulations Committee reviewed and recommended approval of the above referenced amendment. It is staff's recommendation that the City Planning Commission recommend adoption of the zoning ordinance text amendment 2024-003.
Thank you so very
That
much, Ms.
concludes my
Hall.
report.
Any questions, any comments from the commission? Hearing none, seeing none.
I, Gray Bowditch, move that the conditional change in zoning text amendment ZT-2024-003 be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Still no further questions, comments?
Wait, it's 0003.
Correction. It's about it, you did what I did. You left a zero on.
My apologies.
That's okay. We all working on those zeros. Now, any questions or comments? Please call roll.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Dias,
4.
Commissioner Michaud,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
4.
Commissioner Woodard,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
This item also will be heard by City Council on September the 10th, 2024. The next item on the agenda is Plan I'm sorry, Planning Amendment 2024, TAC 0002. This is going to be presented by Ms. Hopkins. I'm sorry, sir.
Ms. Hopkins is out sick, so I'm filling in.
Your name?
Eli Zarka.
Mrs. Zarko. Thank you very much, Mrs. Zarko. I knew you were Ms. Hopkins. Thank you for stepping up. It's all yours, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Again, these are, I am presenting two items to you. These are plan amendments to the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map. Here is the regulatory review. The regulatory review is the same for both of these items that I will be presenting, so I will just go over it this one time. The Code of Virginia mandates all localities prepare and adopt a comprehensive plan for the physical development of land within its jurisdiction. After plan adoption, amendments to this plan must be referred to the Planning Commission for public hearing and approved and adopted by the local governing body. The city's One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan sets an annual review and amendment cycle. In this annual review, staff monitors and follows the implementation progress of the plan, and this gives us a chance to make the plan stable over time, and it groups all proposed amendments in a common process for consideration, providing the opportunity to examine the collective effects on the plan. Here is the future land use map. This annual review identified two proposed amendments to this future land use map. There are no proposed changes to our future transportation map. So again, this is just to the future land use map, not to the future transportation plan. The first proposed amendment is PLN-2024-0002, which is a request to change the future land use map designation from urban residential to neighborhood commercial. Here is the property in question, or properties in question. The properties are located north of the intersection of 27th Street and Orchid Avenue. Specifically, this is 2702 Orchid Avenue and 1013 27th Street, which contains the former YWCA building and the adjacent parking lot. The surrounding uses include single-family dwellings and the Newport News Redevelopment and Housing Authority parking lot to the north, whereas the west, south, and east directions all contain a mixture of single-family lots as well as vacant lots. Here is the land use history. The properties in question were recommended for residential uses as of the 1993 Framework for the Future Comprehensive Plan, where they were identified as medium-density residential. In the 2001 Framework for the Future Update, the property designations were changed to low-density residential, which restricts development to only single-family dwellings. In the 2008 update to Framework for the Future, the properties were reclassified as urban residential, which recommends the development of single-family dwellings, detached as well as attached single-family dwellings, typically situated on small lots. The designation was carried forward with the adoption of the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan, which was adopted in 2018. The vacant YWCA property and its associated parking lot are located in the southern part of the city in the southeast community. This area of the city was laid out in the early 1900s in a gridiron pattern of development that allowed commercial uses to be embedded within the neighborhoods. The property owner recently purchased this vacant property and building, and with the intent of using the building for commercial purposes. The proposed change to neighborhood commercial would support and continue the traditional pattern of development where commercial uses are located at the end of the blocks of the southeast community. Repurposing the vacant building furthers the goals of the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan to improve vacant and blighted buildings, which is important considering other redevelopment efforts occurring in the community, such as the Southeast Community Resource Area. Now, our conclusion and recommendation. The proposed neighborhood commercial designation provides an opportunity to preserve and revitalize a vacant building and property, to promote economic growth, to contribute to the overall appearance of the neighborhood. Taking these into account, staff recommends approval of PLN-2024-0002 to change the future land use map designation from urban residential to neighborhood commercial for properties located at 2702 Orchid Avenue and 1013 27th Street. I should note that this is not a rezoning. This is an amendment to the future land use map. It is not a rezoning change.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Williams.
Was there a specific request that spurred this, look into the plan amendment?
Again, I don't believe we have a specific plan in place, but a question has come in from the current owner of the property and building who is planning to do something in the future. We haven't been given something concrete yet as to what that may be, but this would be to support their efforts.
Okay. And just for clarification, because I know a lot of people, I live in the southeastern community, a lot of people have talked about this building. There's been no substantial communication regarding rehabbing and bringing back the YWCA in any form.
I may not be the correct person to answer that.
No, I mean, it would be up to the owner what they intend to do with the building.
Correct, okay.
So if I understand correctly, the owner inquired, and so we took a look at what we can do as far as rezoning or repurposing the property.
That would be correct. The owner had the option to do an adaptive reuse and make it residential, but I don't think that is what the owner wants to do with the building.
Okay. We have no cards on this, so this is us talking, so. Understand, Tim. Okay.
So you're in front of us today to talk specifically about an amendment to the comprehensive plan as to its zoning or as to the specific future use of the building. The current owner would have to come back to the planning department, go through the process. I'm looking at that rear lot and provide suggestions and a plan for requirements to bring certain things up to code, whether it was a assembly building or what it was in the past or what it is in the future. Is that correct?
Yes, a change in zoning would, if it required or if it wasn't permitted in the current district, which is R4, it would potentially require a rezoning or conditional use permit depending on what that use is.
So this before us today is for the sole purposes of the comprehensive plan to look forward, to be supportive, because as a city, we'd like to not see it remain unused and unmaintained.
That is correct.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Tim.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around how was it put there originally? You said gridiron, but I'm not familiar with that term. Was it?
It's been there probably since the 50s.
Okay.
But you have to understand that during that era, uses were allowed pretty much everywhere. And a lot of that community, especially that stretch, was zone commercial at the time. And back then, the zoning ordinance allowed commercial uses and residential uses together in that zone. So if you even if you were a residential home, you could be permitted in a commercial zone.
Gotcha.
So it allowed a mix of uses along that corridor.
So was this kind of like when the rezoning happened, it just kind of got lumped in with residential, or was it always sort of zoned that way? That it was,
It was always zoned either commercial or residential, zoning wise, but, you know, we're really not talking about zoning at this point.
right. I'm just trying to understand how the building got there to begin with.
The building was allowed by right when it was built.
Okay, so it's of age where it was allowed. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I was just trying to figure out how it even arrived in its current location. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. McAllister. But I had a quick question in regards to this. Does this plan amendment, does it open up for us the possibilities, more possibilities for this usage?
It will allow whatever is permitted in commercial zones, assuming that they rezone it for commercial
Correct.
use.
But the plan use would just.
Because right now, even though the plan is identifying it as commercial, the zoning is still residential.
Roger that. Okay. Well, at least my question. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna put this is before the commission, and I got open for a motion.
I move that the change of zoning,
Mm-mm.
which one?
Plan amendment.
I move that the planning amendment,
Mhm.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was asking because I perhaps didn't hear if the public hearing was open. I know there are no cards, but unfortunately the code requires the public hearing on this, so we just have to still open it and then close it, even if there's no one there. Sorry.
Thank you, Lynn. No, I did not declare the public hearing open. I apologize, everyone in TV land and everyone around me. So I now declare the public hearing open. And I apologize. And now I close the public hearing. And the matter is now before the commission, because I have no cards on this side.
I move that the planning amendment PLN 2024-0002 be approved.
It's been moved and properly second. Still hearing any other questions or concerns or enhancements to the process flow?
Just a quick discussive point. And I think from what Sheila brought out, this still is going to be potentially a commercial development right next to housing, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But that would have to come back from the zoning, the commission to rezone.
Right. Would residents be apprised of the potential situation before any of that happens? Okay, I just want to make sure that was clear.
It would go
Clarify
through
for
the
record.
same public hearing notification process that any other rezoning would go through.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, please call roll.
Commissioner Dias?
4.
Commissioner Michaud?
4.
Commissioner Grabowski?
4.
Commissioner Woodard?
4.
Commissioner Bowditch?
4.
Commissioner Williams?
4.
Commissioner Shook?
4.
Commissioner Taylor?
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
This item will also be heard September the 10th at 2024 by City Council. All right. The next item is another plan amendment, Plan Amendment Tag 2024, Tag 0003. This also will be heard by Mr.
Zarka.
Mrs. Zarka. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon again. Again, I went through the regulatory requirements earlier, so I will not repeat them here, but this is the same type of application. The second proposed amendment is PLN-2024-0003, which is a request to change the future land use map designation from community commercial to high-density residential. Currently, the properties are located west of Commonwealth Drive. Specifically, these properties are addressed as 100 and 115 Regal Way, which contains the Regal Cinema and adjacent parking lot, along the York County border. The surrounding uses include Victory Center, which includes various retail and commercial establishments to the north, Hilton Garden Inn and Ivystone Residential, the Ivystone Residential Community are to the west and south. East of the site, across Commonwealth Drive, is a vacant lot with surrounding office and the Candlewood Suites. Those sites specifically would be in York County and not within our municipality. These properties have been recommended for community commercial since the 1993 Framework for the Future land use map. This designation was then carried forward with the adoption of the 2018 One City, One Future Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map. The Regal Cinema has been operating since its construction in 1995. The Regal Cinema and its associated parking lot have been designated community commercial since the 1993 Framework for the Future to reflect the existing uses as well as its location within one of Kiln Creek's planned business centers. Over time, this area has developed with more residential uses than commercial uses. Based on this development pattern, a reclassification of the future land use designation to high-density residential would be appropriate for the properties. A residential designation provides the opportunity to introduce new housing in the community. The proposed high-density residential designation aligns with the vision of the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan for a prosperous and sustainable and inclusive community. The proposed high-density residential designation enhances residential options in the city, strengthens neighborhood character, and provides the opportunity for thoughtful redevelopment of an existing site. Staff recommends approval of PLN-2024-0003 with those factors taken into account to change the future land use map designation from community commercial to high-density residential for the properties located at 100 and 115 Regal Way. Again, just as with the last application, this is only a future land use map change. This is not a zoning change. This does not necessarily indicate that the existing use will stop, but just gives options for the future. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Has there been any consideration in making this more single family versus more apartments?
Sheila may have to answer that one.
Yeah, I'll answer that. This is part of the Kiln Creek development, this land area is, and because of its location, it's better suited for, if it's going to be residential, we felt it was better suited for more high-density residential as opposed to fee simple, single-family lots.
Yes, sir.
I have two questions. The first, just making sure the Regal is not closing.
No.
Okay, good, because that's the movie theater I go to.
That was more personal. That was more personal.
I got the Regal Unlimited, so I can go as much as I want. But
That's why they're going out of business.
it's usually just me there. So my only question is that didn't we just approve the old Farm Fresh to be a storage facility?
Yes, sir.
Because that was supposed to entice business in the area?
No, that wasn't the ultimate goal.
I'm pretty sure that was one of the,
That's how they phrase it.
that's how it was phrased, that it was supposed to kind of reinvigorate business in the area, but now there's more houses going in. I mean, that parking lot is huge and totally unused and not maintained. I'm just saying that there seems to be,
Well, it depends on what time you go to the parking lot. Late in the afternoons, it's used.
Yeah, truck might be there.
Yeah.
I mean, because it extends all the way
Right.
back and it's pretty empty. This is about a packed theater, that picture. But I just wanted to say, because the Farm Fresh is right there.
So was the
And
And your question, sir.
yes, my question is, well, it's a question comment, is that I thought we were trying to reinvigorate business in that area,
Yes.
but housing is not. It's not business. Nor do I see people living a hop, skip, and a jump from a storage facility utilizing.
The storage facility, in my opinion, was, it allowed a otherwise vacant piece of property to be used, not that it was the end-all, be-all use for that property. In fact, the planning commission turned it down and council approved it.
I understand that. I'm just saying, I'm not what I don't understand is,
Tim, I think if I can, I think this conversation that you're thinking and should be had, I think we should visit council. Because like my fellow commissioner said, we denied it. They accepted it. So I think the intent that they had that was presented then is something that we may need to hear from them. Because this is yes.
to me, it just seems kind of contradictory.
You say yes. But with that being said, is there any other comments or questions?
For my own edification, again, when we update the land use designation, that's because we're trying to guide the development, is that right?
Correct.
So we change it to high density residential because we're trying to guide the development of it towards that? Is that the idea? That's the reason we would change it to begin with instead of leaving it like it is?
Well, as long as it meets the goals of the comprehensive plan and we evaluate it, and based on our evaluation, what we don't want to see is we don't want to see ultimately if this theater closes, because we don't know that for
Right.
sure. We would want to see another use there, and you think about what's the best use at this location. Mixed use, residential. Mixed use would be commercial, office, and residential. The commercial there is not thriving, and so looking at it and evaluating it, and with the need for more housing in the city, we came to the conclusion that high-density residential would be the best mix here.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Bowden.
Has the planning department been approached by a high-density end user about a future project, or is this more of a forward-looking preparation for what could happen?
This is forward-thinking.
Okay, I'd like to move it. Wow, let me see it. I'd like to open the public hearing. I have no formal card, but if anyone wants to speak on this is your opportunity. Seeing no one, hearing no one, I'd like to close the public hearing. The matter is now I'm not going to think. The matter is now before the commission.
I move that the planning amendment PLN 2024-0003 be approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Last nickel, any questions and more comments? Yes, sir.
Was the intent for us to poll what the goal is, or just?
No. That was not the intent. The intent was to stay focused on the plan amendment itself as it's presented before us today.
What's your thoughts?
What he has given to say, where are you going
Well,
with
like I said, it just seems contradictory, so I don't.
That's
I
not
think-
us, it's with council.
Yeah, I think that was trying to, in my earlier statement, was trying to redirect our concerns.
Well, it is for us because the matter is before us, so it's. for
Right.
us.
I think if
I mean, ultimately, they
you
can overrule us.
If I can
but-
finish my statement, Tim.
Yeah.
I think that if you feel the way you feel, as you do feel about what you're thinking and what you're saying, then you should vote that way. And then if you choose to want even deeper understanding of what their thoughts were, then we should go before council at their next meeting, which will be September the 10th, and ask that question. Because on record, and our position has not changed. We denied it before.
Okay. Yeah, I just, I'm not actually opposed to this, but I want clarification on what city council's goals are.
And I don't think that, I can honestly say, Tim, I can't give you clarification on their thoughts.
Oh, of course.
But, and I don't think we should try. So let's,
But let me just respond to that. Council, at the council meeting, and you have to understand, they don't know what's coming. They don't know if anything in that area is going to change. So they didn't have any idea that this was coming. And what they looked at is they looked at a singular use, even though the staff report talked about if this area is redeveloped and what we could do. But they were looking at a singular building that was now vacant, that even though a use had come before them, it never opened, and they saw it as an opportunity to occupy a vacant building. That's pretty much it.
yeah, we good? But you also have, like I said before, you also have the opportunity to go before council and listen to what they say. And we all do at any time, so. I forgot where we stopped.
No, just my only comment is, I always will defer to the planning commission, to the director of planning, assistant director. However, it just seems like it's going to be a lot of high density, because I know on the other side, York County's building apartments, high density right over there, and more. And I know one of the things that we've always talked about and been concerned with is the lack of housing units in our city. And so I just hope that we try to tend more towards encouraging people to build more homes, especially starter homes for younger families, than to constantly just continue to build apartments and have people always just having to rent in order to stay in Newport News. And that's my only comment.
But just be aware, we don't know what is being
Yes, ma'am.
proposed.
Right.
It's
Right.
just a land use identification. It could be high density and it could be condos. We don't know. They could be for sale. We really don't know. It's just opening the door and allowing the opportunity for something else to go here.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Everyone good? Any more comments or questions? I think I open and close. The matters now. Please call roll. I think I caught
Commissioner
up.
Michelle,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
4.
Commissioner Woodard,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Dias,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
Okay, this matter also will be heard on September 10th by City Council. Okay, the next items we have on our agenda is the Executive Secretary Report by Ms. McAllister.
Good afternoon. The only thing I have for you today are what's coming up in your next couple of meetings. August 21st, of course, is a special exception for a lot that's less than 50 feet, that has less than 50 feet of frontage. And on September the 4th, we have the 2 conditional use permits. The first for a family daycare, child care facility at 613 Brandywine Drive, and the second for a banquet facility at 711 Brick Hill Boulevard. And I also want to encourage you, if you have not, you can pick up these little postcards and pass them out in your neighborhood so we can get more responses to the comprehensive plan survey. And if you have not completed the survey or even started the survey, you can do that also. We would love to have your input. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. McAllister. Any questions for Ms. McAllister? Next, we have committee reports. Anyone? Well, hearing none. Unfinished business. New business.
Just have one request. Is it possible for us, like I always keep our procedure rules and always try to read them. Is there any way we can get like a quick one pager on the breakdown of the different types of zoning? Especially for newer people, so we can know what is a neighborhood, what is neighborhood commercial, what is that? If we can have a one-pager sheet, just so that we can always reference it, just in case.
Sure.
I try to learn them all, but.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the certified planning commissioner course is great, but it's not the same as having a degree in planning, obviously. So.
Right.
Yeah. So if there could be a one-pager we can have handy for that.
Okay.
That would be
We
great.
can do that.
Along those same, anything else? Because I did have one I want to add. I'm just going to re-hop on the same thing. I traveled the city in my gear of, yes, and Flora knows where I'm going with this. I very seldom look like I look today. I wear my hoodie, I work out at the gym. So when I ride up on a piece of property and people look at me like, you know, who's this guy riding up on a piece of property looking around like yesterday? It was nice to have a card or something I can hand someone. I actually had to go into the RV station and introduce myself so they can stop following me around the parking lot. So it would help for us as we move around the city to have a card or something that we can give them. So it would help. I'm just asking
I
again.
think we are in the process of getting you those cards.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to keep harping on it. So, but with that being said, any other new business or unfinished business? Hearing none, seeing none, I now declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.